Hey, it's me, and I'm JV the Antique Autistic, and today what I wanted to talk to you about was, well, you know that we've gotten this land and this house, and it's not a tear down, it's a fixer-upper, real close to a tear down, but it's going to be perfect for us. And I've been, since we're working on the homesteading thing, I've been looking at all the homesteading channels. There's some really, really interesting homesteading channels because I have everything to learn. And recently they did the 10 reasons I started homesteading, and a few started the, they did collabs, and a few started the, 10 reasons I'm gonna homestead. And I'm not exactly sure how many reasons, but I'm gonna do some of the reasons that I am putting together in Autistic Homesteading Community. And number one, which is basically how the idea came into fruition, is about 5 years ago now. About 5 years ago, a little less. My son started to do better from his disease, and so we started looking at, getting friends for him and then for me and stuff. And I was reading about these retreats for autistic people, and I read some of the reviews, and the reviews said, oh no, these are horrible. They were put together by non-autistic people, and they were going, oh my gosh, the acoustics were terrible, the people running it had all this, were dripping in perfume, and there were all these sounds and fluorescent lights. But so I found out, but there was a couple of them that were actually put around in the world too, that were put together by and for autistic people. And I said, awesome. And I went to look them up. And then I looked at the itineraries, and I looked at the menus, and I mostly looked at the price, and I said, And I said to myself, we have to find a way that there can be autistic retreats for autistics, put together for autistics, that don't cost an arm and a leg. 85% of high-functioning autistics, and that's one reason we're doing this, is so that we can change that number. But 85% of what they call high-functioning autistic people are not working. And the ones that I do know that are working are like people with PhDs, who are working at the Goodwill, or they have a good job working, with family members. But anyway, so I started talking to people about how I wanted to do this, and I was told that's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible to get the money. Nobody cares. It's impossible to get autistics together. So many autistics have never even met other autistic people, and it's impossible. So I said, okay, I am so shitty at so many things, but I'm pretty good at doing impossible things. So that's how Outhaven was created. But at Outhaven, people would talk about how they wish they had jobs, that they could do jobs and keep them, and not being fired for being too weird or whatever, or because the sensory issue was so horrific for them that they couldn't handle it, and they were in such physical and emotional pain. And we started talking about, wouldn't it be great if there was a community where we could be ourselves, and where we could have, they talk about the lack of social skills that autistic people have. What I think it is our wiring is so different. It's not that we're lacking social skills, we're lacking neurotypical social skills, because when we're together with other autistic people, our social skills are fine. And it's almost a totally different culture, which I'll explain another time. But everybody talked about, wouldn't it be great if we could do this all together, and we could live together, and we could work together, and, and we could put together as far as our sensory issues so that we could work, and our different issues so that we could work and we could create. And because most of us don't have the advantages like Temple Grandin had, what's his name? come on. The guy. The Gates.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yeah. And so I said, let's put together an autistic community. First, I wasn't thinking homesteading, but yeah, if you know what's gone on in the last year or so, you know it has to be homesteading. But so a lot of people said to me, you know, that's impossible. So I said, thank God. I was starting to worry maybe I couldn't do it. But being it's impossible, we can do this. And so, number one is I want to have a space for other autistic people where we can be together and we can be our awesome autistic selves and we can live off the land as close as possible. Reason number two is eggs. A few years ago I saw some of the YouTube videos talking about chickens and how horribly these factory-raised chickens are treated. I mean, horrible. It's so horrible, evil. And so I said, okay, well then I'll pay the extra couple dollars and I'll get the free-range chickens and the cage-free chickens. Well, comes to find out, they usually don't have a better life. And there's so, the definition of legally what is cage-free, what is free range is so narrow, and you could get a lot of free-range chickens that have never seen the light of day. And then you get like these organic, everybody wants these organic vegetarian chickens. Now you know they've never been out in the field or outside or anything, because then they wouldn't be vegetarian, because if they were vegetarian, if they're not because chickens are omnivorous and they eat bugs and such. If they're not allowed out, then they're not allowed the bugs and such. So vegetarian eggs aren't good either. So I love eggs, guys, and my family loves eggs. And I was thinking at first, well, we're just going to have to stop eating eggs, because how can I enjoy something that causes such torture? Then I decided that I was going to have chickens and raise chickens, and that my chickens were going to be the happiest, the most loved chickens in the world, and they are. They're so spoiled. They get watermelon every day in the summer. They are so spoiled. They, they take their turns. They wait in line, sort of, for when I sit and I cuddle them. And they're really awesome. You want chickens. Anti-consumerism is number 3. A homesteading community usually lends itself to anti-consumerism. Now, most autistic people really don't have a problem with consumerism anyway, even if they have the money, okay? And most autistic people are like, why do people feel this need? And for a long time I thought it was just a difference in neurology, that as an autistic we didn't need these things. And then somebody said to me, after World War II, the government, and they started working with businesses, they wanted, more people buying things. And so they started doing research on people, on how to get them to feel that they need more. They have to have more. And our brains are totally different, so they were not trying to appeal to autistic neurology. They were trying to appeal to neurotypical neurology. And it worked really, really good. It worked really, really well. And I think it's only as autistics, as we start being more recognized in the world, and especially as potential consumers, they'll start working on us too. And so this would be a preventative thing as much as anything. Reason number 4, growing our own food, making our own stuff. Food, big industries has made so much food so unhealthy. And it is debatable, but many people feel that a lot of autistic people, that we just have much more sensitive systems. I mean, we had the sensory issues where, like, we could feel something on us. It could be up to 1,000 times more, like, in pain. Or we might get our arm chopped off and not even feel it. And with the sensory, with the olfactory, the smelling, and all that stuff, we don't do well with poison. We're just kind of sensitive to poison that way. And so that's another reason. Also making our own soaps, because it's really hard for us to find soaps that don't hurt us. And making the whole thing. And also, and I'm not speaking for all autistic people, but we tend to have a huge concern over our personal environmental impact, negative environmental impact on the world. And we want to do whatever we can to change that. Anyway, those are just a few. Oh, and children especially, autistic children. All of us who are autistic and adults were at one time autistic children. And this has got to be the number one reason. This is the kids. We want autistic kids raised in autistic space, loved for their awesome autistic selves. And so, I guess I might add some more. But those are the primary reasons that I am putting together an autistic homesteading community. For those who don't like me, we're here, we're weird, get used to it.